Hey guys, and welcome to the official channel for Develop Your Element. In the previous video in this playlist, we looked at how the airy personality type functions during conflict. And now it's time to talk about the metallic type and how they function. We're going to look at the most common things that metallic people do during these types of situations. It does not matter if you're metallic or not, this video will be very useful for you as it will help you understand how they function, why they do what they do during these situations. And so therefore, you can handle the situation in such a way where you don't make things worse, where you don't take things overly personal, and where you actually get through the process of conflict resolution smoothly and with everyone being happy at the end. It is important to understand, recognize, and identify how we act during conflicts and how other people act during conflicts as well. Because the majority of conflicts are born during periods of elevated stress, frustration, and anger, and therefore people are prone to release the worst version of themselves. They are prone to direct their instincts in a more destructive way, and this leads to the problems growing and getting out of control instead of actually solving problems. So let's look at how this affects metallic people. Metallic people will always be as direct as possible in any situation, and conflicts are no different. They will communicate everything that they think, everything that they see, and they will communicate it with as little filter as possible, because that's the most generous way of being in the metallic perspective. Now, this can sometimes lead them to lack the tact that they need to be sufficiently kind or gentle with their communication. And as they like to communicate without filter, if someone messes up, they will let them know. If someone is wrong, they will let them know. It's that simple. Metallic people try to separate their emotions from their conflict resolution process. And I say try, because they're good at putting their sadness aside, but they're not very good at putting their frustration aside. Which means it's very common to see metallic people grab onto their frustration and utilize emotions related to frustration, such as anger and fury, during conflict resolution processes. Metallic people generally focus on errors, on mistakes, and on mess-ups during conflicts. And it is important to emphasize that these are all interpretations of what is a mess-up, because everyone interprets differently what is good and what is bad, what is correct and what is incorrect. So it is not necessarily a fact, it is probably just an interpretation of the situation. But with that said, metallic people are also the first to point fingers and let people know where they're messed up. They will tell you things like, "I told you so, I knew this was going to happen. Had you listened to me, we wouldn't be in this situation. I've spent the last 3 months telling you about this, and look where we are now. This could have been prevented had you just listened to me." Like, why didn't you just listen to me in the first place? And when they feel even more insecure and frustrated, they can end up attacking you personally by saying, "You're dumb, you're stupid, you're not gonna get anywhere in life, you're a mess up, you're a fuck up, like, you have no value," and they'll just put you down because of pure frustration. Metallic people can be very inflexible during conflicts. If they feel that someone is being illogical or if they're saying pure nonsense, they will shut them up or ignore them. And they will also have a lot of resistance accepting new ideas or suggestions from others, and they will make the mistake of assuming that they are the best at analyzing, that they know more about the topic, that they are better at resolving problems. And these instincts that the metallic have, they get really amplified during moments of insecurities or when they are very drained and don't have the mental clarity to connect new dots. For example, there are many metallic people that become overly defensive very fast and that become very insecure, and their first instinct is to criticize and judge other people. However, there are also cases where metallic people get overly critical with themselves and shut themselves up and give up. But they're not always the best at directing blame, and many times they will point fingers at others before looking inward. Metallic people should keep in mind that sometimes the act of criticizing for the sake of criticizing or communicating for the sake of communicating will not yield the best results during conflict resolution. And sometimes it is better to learn the skill set of communicating in such a way where people can receive the information and the feedback without getting either offended or defensive. Now, this is not to say that metallic people are always this way. This is just how they function when they're most strained and insecure. And when metallic people regenerate and have some level of inner confidence, they can actually direct their instincts in a very positive way and resolve conflicts very precisely, very calmly, and it's actually very impressive. Now, if you've identified this way of acting during conflicts in yourself, you might have a metallic side. And if you've identified that someone in your life acts this way during conflicts, they may have a metallic side. Now that you know more about how metallic people function during conflicts, let me give you some tips and recommendations to solve conflicts with them easier. And the first thing you have to know, and this applies to everyone, is you should never suppress people's instincts and you should let everyone communicate and express themselves clearly. Now, let's get into the concrete lists of how to deal with metallic people during conflicts. The first thing you have to do is you have to let them criticize you and understand that when metallic people are criticizing you, they're actually guiding you and protecting you. And if they're taking the time to criticize you, it means they actually care about you, believe it or not. You just have to take the time to communicate to them your willingness to learn from them and listen to them. And if you communicate that, the metallic people will be much less forceful, less insistent, and much less annoying with their communication. They will become more diplomatic and kinder because they don't feel like they have to cram it into you or force it, because they feel that you are appreciating their insight. But if their insight is too harsh, communicate to them if they would be willing to communicate in a more gentle way so that you don't take it so personally. If you communicate to a metallic person logically how they can achieve the results they want to achieve, it is likely that a metallic person is willing to listen as long as you value their insight. Next tip, use logical arguments. Logical arguments that take into account what's logical for you and for them. It is important to bridge that gap, to make that connection, to communicate in their language. Use metaphors, examples that they will understand based on things they're interested in or based on things that they already have analyzed and where they've already connected dots. Next tip, do not tell them they're wrong. I understand this can be hard, but keep in mind that metallic people put a lot of thought into their ideas, into their conclusions, and they spend a lot of time investigating and trying to understand things at a very complex, deep level, and therefore when they get told that they're wrong, they instantly shut down and feel like a failure and feel like they've wasted a lot of time. So a better way to handle this situation is just to share with them new facts, new information, new nuances to the situation that can broaden their panorama instead of telling them that they're outright wrong. Keep in mind that sometimes it's better to solve a problem later than in the moment. If your head is too hot, if you're too frustrated, if you're too upset about the situation, it's going to be near impossible to find a positive solution. So for a metallic person, it is a good idea to sometimes tell them, I hear you, but do you really think that now is the right moment to have this argument or discussion? Tell me, what do you suggest? What practical solution do you have that we can implement right now while we think of a much more complete solution for later? That's all for today's video. If you have any good stories about a metallic person during a conflict, or if you yourself are a metallic person and have mismanaged certain conflicts, let us know in the comments below because we love hearing from you. And if you like this video, give it a like. If you loved it, subscribe. And if you want to be notified when we have more of these videos, ring the bell. That's all. Have a good one.